that building to turn into and become for the city. So.
Councilor Stone.
Well, I can clarify that you're incorrect, city manager, that it's not vacant. There's actually a few rentals in it currently. And part of the tax abatement process the last time was due to lack of income from rentals received. That was stated. I know that because I contacted DRA personally.
Yeah, there are some rentals in there. So
So it's not a vacant building. That's
but-
sitting there.
Councilor Matteau.
I understand what happened in the past and the abatement process and all of the turmoil that it caused with citizens. I get that. But that's done. If we want to move this city forward and move this property forward, I mean, if somebody goes in there and invests several $1 million, then their taxes are going to go up and those abatement issues are going to go away. And we're going to raise a lot more money from this kind of property and other kind of properties if we develop them. And we need housing in this community. And all that we're being asked to do tonight is to approve the submission of a planning grant. It's not even spending any taxpayer money. It's asking to go and get a grant from CDBG to study the feasibility of this. That's it. I mean, if they proceed, it's going to go to the planning board for a complete review. And I don't understand what the issue is with moving forward to look at a planning grant at this point in the game.
Councilor Contois.
Yeah, so when we talked about 139 Main Street, I spoke against CDBG grants because it was that whole program is going into the property ownership of a millionaire. I did not speak out against the Goddard block, which was the same millionaire, because there was a lot of housing that was potentially going in there. The Topstone building is in terrible shape. I don't know if Topstone Holding is a multi-million-dollar corporation or whatever, but I think it's up to them to spend their money on a study. And Councilor Matteau is wrong when she says it's not taxpayer money. It absolutely is taxpayer money, and I don't think we should be wasting it. And I'm not in favor of this at all.
First Councilor Stone, then Councilor Matteau.
Now, I pulled the tax card. Currently, it's assessed at $186,700. Now, we all know that from sitting up here and doing the previous ones, that a 79E is usually filed for at least 7 years at that assessed rate. That's a very low assessment for that type of property to be locked in for 7 years. So we're not going to be deriving a lot of tax money from that initial investment. Second of all, you have to look at the impact services of moderate and low income housing on our city services and school. A lot of people forget that the school also comes out of the same pocket with the same taxpayers that reside in Claremont. I just want to make that very clear.
Yeah.
Councilor Matteau.
I just want to clarify that I meant local tax dollars. I understand CDBG is federal tax dollars, but if we don't spend and get CDBG money here, another community is going to get it. So it's not going to affect our local tax rate at all. The other thing is that City Manager Morris is absolutely correct, because I feel these phone calls every day. There are professional people that want to move to Claremont that can't find a place to live. So every time we talk about housing in this community, everybody goes right down the rabbit hole with Section 8, and we're going to fill the schools up, and it's all bad. Well, that's not what housing is all about. Housing is a basic need that you need in a community for all levels of your citizens. People that are professionals, people with families, and the poor people. But right now, Claremont doesn't have it on any length. From one spectrum to the other, people want to move to this community and can't. And people that get jobs here at the local hospital have to go elsewhere. I had a nurse that called me the other day, and she could not find a place to live, and she was not going to be able to accept the job because there was no housing in Claremont. So that's a need we need to fix. And we have to stop every time we talk thinking about housing to say, oh, it's a terrible thing. We can't provide housing because it's going to draw all the poor people to Claremont. Guess what? There are people that live in Claremont already that can't find housing.
I was just gonna note low moderate income. I can't find the sheet right here, but low moderate income in Sullivan County is a family of 4. I believe it's 68,000. So the requirements for CDBG are providing low and moderate income housing.
Councilor Stone.
Just to clarify, is that roughly 30% of their income per house?
It's Sullivan County. I think some people think it's just Claremont, but when they look at low moderate for CDBG purposes, it's the whole county.
So based on county, not,
Yeah, based on.
thank you for clarifying.
And the 30%, I believe, is what you qualify for subsidy. If you pay more than 30% of your income, then if there's a subsidy available with the property, then you can qualify for the subsidy. But not every low or moderate income property that's built comes with or is intended to have subsidies.
That's right.
Okay, Councilor O'Hara.
Topstone Holdings was notified of this tonight.
Say that again.
Topstones was notified of this tonight meeting, this on the agenda.
The owner, John Calkins, I don't believe he's not here, and I don't think he's on Zoom.
Okay.
So
Was he notified that we
He
were going to
was.
discuss it? Okay.
he was, yep.
See, we have one attendee. They're logged in as Priscilla, but I don't know. We sent him a panelist invite today, correct?
We did. Yep. So if he's on there, he can speak, I guess, and come on, right?
Not if he's under the attendees. He would
Oh.
not be able to.
Okay.
All right, so we've had extensive discussion. I certainly, from my perspective, will agree that we aren't really talking about doing anything at this point other than looking at revising a set of plans. It's no resolution to move forward, to move to the side, to move anywhere. Status quo remains the status quo, and what we're talking about is an amount of money. So the Topstone Holding can redo a set of plans or re-examine them, and they may come up with it's not feasible. Certainly is a valid result.
Yeah.
However,
I don't remember if you opened a public hearing on this.
well, actually, I don't either. So
Let's do it.
what I'm going to do.
Sorry, can you tell us?
I don't, there was a lot of discussion on this
Yeah.
one. I don't see no public hearing yet.
What I'm going to do, whether or not I had opened one originally, I'm going to open one now. This public hearing is open on this particular application, the one that we've been discussing, and is open for any public comments that people may care to send to our attention. Yes, Representative Stapleton.
Walt Stapleton, Ward 3. Oh, must have been maybe 25 years ago when the Topstone building was for sale. I actually called Century 21 and was taken through the building. And I was quite impressed with how it was constructed and what I thought to be a solid nature of the overall structure, despite the leaking roof at the time affecting the roof and the top floors and the windows rather derelict. I didn't have the wherewithal or the resources at that time to make an offer, but I was interested in the building. Just as history, the railroad that I worked for, Claremont Concord, used to serve that building when it was the shoe factory. And I think that's a real asset for the community. And having housing in here is already been expressed as a dramatic need. For 25,000, you can't get much anything anymore for 25,000, but this could be an indication that we could use to determine the feasibility. That's a good question to have answered. And it might also incentivize the state DEC to get back to work on the hazmat problem. The state is short of department people and employees, and maybe that's one of the reasons why there's been some delay. I don't know, just offering that out, but this might incentivize the department to pick this up and get it done. And I think that alone is a good thing. And there's two advantages. Getting this building back in service with low and income modern homes, housing, is really a plus asset for the city. I can't think of any negative to it. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? And seeing none, I'm going to close the public hearing, bring it back to the council. At this point, Councilor Damaris.
I find myself agreeing with Councilor Contois. I think that if this owner is interested in pursuing this, first of all, I think he would be here tonight. Second of all, if it's a project that somebody, you're talking about a large project here, 40 odd units. I don't think taxpayer money should be used this way.
Councilor Stone,
Motion to table for the next meeting.
is there a second to that motion?
Second.
Second by Councilor O'Hara. Okay, this will be the second item tabled this evening. Are we ready for a roll call vote?
Counselor Ahern,
Yes.
Counselor Gerard,
No.
Counselor Demars,
No,
Sister
No.
Mayor Dameron,
No.
Counselor Matteau,
No,
Counselor Contois,
No,
Counselor Stone,
Yes.
failed.
Yes. Councilor Matteau,
I'd like to read the motion for approval.
certainly.
The city motion to submit CDBG application for 101 Mulberry Street. The Claremont City Council hereby approves submission of a planning study, community development block grant application for 101 Mulberry Street to the New Hampshire Community Development Finance Authority in an amount not to exceed $25,000 consistent with public hearing notice, and to further authorize the city manager to sign and submit the application, and upon approval of the CDBG application to authorize the city manager to execute any documents which may be necessary to effectuate the CDBG contract and any amendments thereto.
Thank you. Is there a second? I will second the discussion. We're at the council level. Are there council comments from any councilor? Councilor Matteau.
I just want to kind of sum up what I've been saying, that we have a great need in this community, and as counselors, we should do whatever we can to try to move these things forward. Now, I understand some people think that private developers should not be looking for public money, whether it's federal money or city money, to help them move their projects forward. But oftentimes developers have to look at the feasibility and the total cost of something and whether it's worth their risk and their money to make something go forward or not. And that's why a lot of people haven't, my boss has often thought about doing another complex. We did 160 units 30 years ago. But when you weigh the pros and the cons of the cost to do it versus whether you're going to make your money back, that's when you have to figure, am I going to do it in Claremont? So I don't have a problem with somebody looking for federal grant monies to look at that question and say, is it going to work for me as a developer? And that benefits Claremont if the answer is yes, and this developer is going to go forward and put their money in. But developers pull all kinds of things into their financing schemes to make things work for them in the end, to make it a profitable thing for them. And that's why some people do develop and some people don't develop. So to say that anybody that uses a federal pool of money or tax credits or whatever it is to make a project feasible is not fair, it's just not, you're not looking at it from a practical standpoint. I want to see housing developed in Claremont, and whatever it takes for us to help get there and get people to spend their private money to do it, I'm in favor of it. So I think this is going to, for us to say we're not going to allow this grant application to go forward is a mistake, because we have a need in Claremont. We don't have anybody else stepping up to the plate at this point to solve those needs. So I think it's a win for Claremont.
Right. Yes. Councilor O'Hara.
I will say that I am for housing Claremont, but my problem with this particular location is that one, they have seemed to drag their feet for numerous years. Two, do not have the ability, or they had the ability to show up or the ability to zoom in. and tell us and have us question them about this application, and they did not choose either one. So now that we're on the motion, I cannot support it because I wanted to have some questions answered, and I don't think it's the city's, it's your job to be telling us how to sell this. It's up to the property owner to come here and tell it to us.
I think he was told by the grant writer that he didn't need to attend, but
Okay. Councilor Gerard.
I've been sitting here listening to all the different counselors' comments and concerns. And I do understand the fact that this Topstone building has definitely been a concern to the community in the past. I look at it that we're looking at a feasibility study to hopefully see if this building is worth investing that type of money. We have a horrible situation with housing at this point. DES and every other agency would be well involved if we ever get to that point where we're going to start to look at this. As much as I understand the concerns with the property at this point, I think we need to at least see if we can try to look at the property and hopefully maybe be able to do something for our community.
Councilor Stone.
This property has been a DES issue for what, at least a decade that you're aware of?
for a long time.
Longer than that. So it's not going to be solved overnight. That's number one. Number two is, I believe the last time I checked into it with DES, one of the reasons for the lack of testing was due on the owner's part. They're not taking responsibility, just like I believe there were Bureau of taxes. Are they tied up on our taxes now? Are they paid up?
Yeah, they're fairly current on everything. They're behind on the July 1st payment, but we're only 2 weeks or a couple weeks past that. But they've been making their payments and they're
Given the history of the city and the interaction with Mr. Calkins, I think he would want to show up and be here to present his position on it. You know, let's be honest about it. Unless something has changed, I have a feeling that he would be looking at doing some type of federal grant money, which any federal grant money is taxpayer dollars, unless the government grows it on trees these days. So that is taxpayer dollars. That's number two. We've got to look at what's best for Claremont. And yes, we need housing. But what type of housing? When you take federal grant dollars, you're taking their agenda and their requirements to keep those dollars. And some of those programs can be successful. Some of them may not be successful, but you got to look at the balance system of what you're increasing on this end if you're improving on this end. And I just think everybody should take a really good think about it, because this is the first step in getting a complex in of 48 apartments that are moderate to low income. And that does impact schools and it does impact services.
Further comments from anyone on the council? I'll make one final comment before calling for a vote. Certainly just simply my own opinion. We've heard the words used that this is a substantial project, and it would be if it is determined to be feasible. And from my perspective, I see no problem. It doesn't commit us to voting to authorize any further money on anything other than simply saying that we wish to go ahead with this planning grant and give approval for the $25,000 to be spent to examine, to determine if. And I don't think it's making any determination that there's a predetermined yes or no to it, just simply if. So with that, a roll call vote on the motion, please.
Counselor Hearn,
No.
Counselor Gerard,
Yes.
Counselor DeMars,
No.
Assistant Mayor Dameron,
Yes.
Counselor Matteau,
Yes.
Counselor Contois,
No.
Counselor Stone,
No.
fail.
I think we've successfully talked in all corners of this particular